This is Gene Bailey. If you're unfamiliar, he runs a TV show on Kenneth Copeland's network called Flashpoint. He's a host on there. And it is absolutely unglued from reality, dude. It is everything that Trump would want it to be. They basically only ever talk about how great Trump is. That's pretty much it. Apparently, they decided to have Vivek Ramaswamy on recently. This is actually, I think, like, this isn't part one. If you haven't seen the others, don't sweat it. This stands independently of the rest. I'll provide context if it's missing. But they're jumping into an interview with Vivek Ramaswamy, I believe, at this point. So I think that's what they're about to do. Yeah. They're about to have him on. So let's give this a listen, see what they have to say for themselves. I mean, Vivek Ramaswamy is very obviously just intentionally splitting the field to help Donald Trump in his primary efforts, right? He's pulling votes away from Ron DeSantis and anyone else who could plausibly challenge Trump, right? I mean, that's the point, and that's why they're having him on. Oh, plus it helps his, book deal that he will inevitably get. Let's give these people a listen, see what they have to say here.
Currently touring the country, working tirelessly in his bid as well to secure the GOP nomination for the 2024 presidential election. His rapid rise among a crowded field of GOP hopefuls is
oh my God, dude, this lead up to Vivek Ramaswamy is not that special.
Making people stand up, and they're taking notice. Please welcome me, Vivek Ramaswamy. Welcome, sir, to Flashpoint. Glad you're with us.
Yeah, like I said, this is an exclusively, it's all about Trump on this thing. That's all they care about. That's all they think about 24/7. The only reason they have Vivek Ramaswamy on here right now is because they believe that it will help their God Emperor Donald Trump, which is really what they call him from time to time. Dead serious. The only reason they have him on is because they think it'll help Trump split the field and make his primary bid more likely. That's it. It's not about them liking Vivek or any of that. They just want you, or as a Republican, if you're a Republican, they just want Republicans to like Vivek more than they like DeSantis. Just make it a little harder for DeSantis to succeed, basically. That's the goal here.
Good to be on. How are you?
We're wonderful. All right. So, Vivek, let me just start off with this question, because I know a lot of people, our main audience is the conservative Christian.
Trump supporters. That's it. That's the audience. Trump nutter butters.
Right-winger that's going, hey, what's going on with America? We need to figure out what's happening. We need to fix it. And so they're asking me, why would you have a guy that's a Hindu on and compared to Christianity? And I think this is before we go any further, I need to hear from you. Speak to that with our audience, because they need to understand where you come down on this, on the stand of religious freedom. Are you against Christianity?
Oh, that's fascinating, right? Oh, wow. I'm super interested by this. So basically what they're saying, I mean, like I said, everybody on this thing is probably voting Trump. I can't imagine they're not. But if there's a DeSantis supporter in this field anywhere at all, they want to make sure that they get, that they're going to get them to vote for Vivek Ramaswamy instead. They just want to split the field. That's what they care about the most. And apparently the one issue that they know that their audience is really going to care about is the fact that this dude is not a Christian. That's going to bother them to the end of time. And they know that. That's super interesting. Okay. So how does Vivek Ramaswamy view Christianity?
Where is all of this happening? I know you've had to deal with this already before, but I wanted our people to hear from you direct.
Now, I'm smiling because I actually just came here from a church where I addressed a group here in Central Ohio about an issue that we have common cause, deep common cause in the cause of life. But I think this is a great conversation to have, because it's true that the United States of America is founded on Judeo-Christian values.
No, it's not. That is not true at all. As a matter of fact, that term, Judeo-Christian, was made up not even that long ago in an attempt to tie Christianity to Judaism to get benefits out of it. It was only to cynically use Judaism to their advantage. That's why the term was invented. But okay, go on. No, it wasn't. Let's keep listening.
That is a fact. And it is also a fact that I'm not raised in a Christian household. I'm a Hindu. I was born in a house of faith, and we raise our two sons in the same tradition as well.
So that's what, a lot of Christians really care about more than anything is that they're, giga religious nutcases. That's all they really care about, is that they're going to further the goals of Christian nationalism, whether you're a Christian or not, I guess.
So I think it's a perfectly fair question to ask. I think the reality is that we share the same values.
Check it out. I have 952 Korok seeds. There are 1,000 in the game. I'm almost there. I'm so close. All right, let's keep listening to Vivek here.
To ask. I think the reality is that we share the same values, those Judeo-Christian values.
Okay, that's interesting that you say you share Judeo-Christian values. Judeo and Christian, Judaism and Christianity, have nothing to do with Hinduism. Is that what he said? He's from India and Hindu, I believe. That has nothing to do with Judeo-Christian anything. That is really interesting. So he is banking on people just being completely oblivious to the history of everything and the meanings of terms and everything else. So he's saying that he has Judeo-Christian values in common with Christians. Go on.
Fair question to ask. I think the reality is that we share the same values, those Judeo-Christian values in common. I'm not running for pastor-in-chief. I'm running for commander-in-chief, president of the United States. But I share that same value set in common.
No, he doesn't. He's not part of the Judeo or the Christian part of that equation anywhere. He does not share any values with Christians, practically. It's a completely different culture. He is only cynically using this as a method of getting people to vote for him and or improve his chances of a book deal. That's about it.
Went to Christian high school in Cincinnati, Ohio. I'm very familiar with the Bible and the values enshrined in the Bible. And I will tell you, when I read the Bible, it didn't feel like I was reading it for the first time. I do think that the real divide...
Well, wait, what the hell does that mean? You didn't feel like you were reading the Bible for the first time you read it? What do you mean by that? I don't understand.
Divide in our country is not between people of Hindu faith and Christian faith and Jewish faith. It's the people who believe in a one true God and those who have replaced that vacuum with new secular religions instead.
Oh, that's fascinating. So he says the battle is not between, Hindu or Christian or whatever. It's between atheists and people who believe in the one true God. Well, as a Hindu, he doesn't believe in the one true God. This dude is just lying through his teeth, and he knows that people are going to believe him. Does it get cringier than this? Seriously, how is he so brazen that he's going to lie like this? Doesn't Hinduism have like 1,000 gods or something? Give me a second. I'm just trying to figure out exactly how many. I mean, there are some really big and famous and popular ones, right? There's Shiva the Destroyer. Let's see. We've got Bhagavan. Wait a minute. I'm just making sure I'm getting this correct. I'm sorry. Yeah, okay. The terms and epithets for deities within the diverse traditions of Hinduism vary and include... Wait, is there an epithet in here? I'm not sure. Deva, Devi, Ishvara, Ishvari, Bhagwan, and Bhagavati. I believe the holy book is the Bhagavad Gita. Is that right? I'm not really super familiar with Hinduism. I'm doing my best here. Some Hindu, please fill me in the chat if I'm wrong on this. I apologize. In the chat or the comments. I apologize if I'm getting something wrong here. I'm just kind of glancing through Wikipedia here. Number of deities. Okay. So apparently, according to Wikipedia here, which take that for what you will, it appears as though there are 33 main deities, and it just kind of varies based on your belief system in it or something to that effect. But 33 seems to be the number popping out at me right now. Go, go, go! Thank you, Tatali, or Tatey, I think. I appreciate the, we got a real go, go, go person in the chat here. Thank you so much for the go, go, go. Let's see. Got a real live Patrick in the chat. I think that's his name. I forget now if that's the Go 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 guy's name. If no one knows what I'm talking about, it's some dude at Greg Locke's church that screams "Go Go Go" all the time, and he's like built a brand off of screaming "Go Go Go" like right in the middle of the sermon. I don't know why. Just so stupid. Anyway. There's sort of a main deity from which all the sub-deities swing, according to somebody in the chat. Okay, I appreciate the information, Sarpus X. Hinduism has a god for every single emotion. However, three main godheads, 33 godheads, including the sub-gods, about 33 million sub-gods. Okay, so they have like a ton of gods. That's what I thought. They had thousands. In no way is Hinduism a monotheistic religion. He does not believe in the creator God. That's absurd. He believes in like a bunch. So he's just pandering shamelessly to people that he is trying to pull over to his side, I guess. It's just embarrassing. And they're letting him do it. They're helping him.
Wokeism, transgenderism.
Sorry, let me step back. You can't just jump in with wokeism like that.
In a one true God, and those who have replaced that vacuum with new secular religions instead.
Right. So, as I was saying, I think that what he's doing is basically coming out against atheists. He's basically saying atheism and secularism are the bane of existence, basically. And religion is the most important thing, and it doesn't matter which religion.
Wokeism, transgenderism, climatism, Covidism. These
are religions he's listing. Okay.
These are modern cults that have substituted for the individual, family.
Wow, dude. Modern cult. Well, I'll tell you what. You got the right guy to talk about cults with, if that's what you want to do, Vivek. So he says wokeism is a cult. Fascinating. Again, this is coming from a guy who, is on the far right and supports, or at least supported Donald Trump and stuff, right? That's kind of funny, actually.
Family, nation, and God, faith in something bigger than ourselves. So I think that's the real divide in our country. And I think I'm different in a couple of ways. One of the most important is that I'm also a millennial. And I can speak to what's...
Yeah, I heard another speech from him. He was leaning into this. I'm a millennial. I think he's like 38 or something like that. That's just barely a millennial, isn't it? Or is that right in... Maybe 38 years old in 2023 is right on par with where millennials should be. I don't know. I'd have to do the math. But anyway... I guess that's a good route if that's what the route you want to take. I suppose that'll probably get some votes too. 44 is the oldest millennial, according to my wife, so there you go. Knowing is half the battle, as my friend G.I. Joe says.
One of the most important is that I'm also a millennial, and I can speak to what's going on in my generation, which is that...
No, he can't. I don't care if he's a millennial or not. He has no f***ing idea what's going on in his generation. You know what's going on in his generation, actually? I'll tell you exactly what's happening. These are people that were reaching adulthood around and trying to get jobs around the time that the economy completely crashed. In 2008, I think millennials are the generation that were most adversely affected by the Great Recession in 2008. That's what I was looking for. See, I'm a millennial. I believe 34, or I'm about to be 34. I'm 33 right now, I think. 1989, 2023. My birthday is tomorrow. I just realized. Wow, happy birthday to me. Anyway, I'll be 34 tomorrow. So, because it's July 19th right now. My birthday is July 20th. Anyways, I was reaching adulthood when the Great Recession hit. You know that I didn't know this before, but do you know that when in 2008, during the Great Recession that George Bush left us with, did you know that 1/5, 20% of the country lost their homes? were no longer allowed to rent or were kicked out or repossessed by the bank or otherwise evicted from their homes. No joke. 20%. That's crazy high. Oh my God, is that a high number? 20%. And that's around the time that my generation was attempting to enter the job market. Now, he says he understands this generation, my generation, the millennials. What was Vivek doing around that time? Well, I can tell you what he wasn't doing. He was not looking for a job the way that I was at Burger King or Taco Bell or IHOP because nowhere else was hiring. He's worth 500 and... What's he worth? Hold on, let me look it up specifically. Vivek Ramaswamy, $630 million. That's what Vivek is worth, $630 million. So, no, Vivek, I don't think you really understand the millennial generation or the struggles that we've had.
The people my age, I'm 37, people younger than me, we are hungry for a cause. We are starved for purpose and meaning and identity.
Well, personally, I don't know. I can't speak to the generation that came, I can't speak to the rest of the generation about hunger for a cause, but personally, I consider myself a devil without a cause. So that's a joke that only millennials will get. And a subtle shout out to Kid Rock, that fucking Trumpist nutcase now. Anyway, not much, but happy birthday. I hope you have a wonderful day, both today and on your actual birthday. I'm very glad you're here. Deeply appreciate the work you do to inform us all. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that, Indoran. It means a lot to me that you guys are here at all, just hanging out with me. Like I said, that's all I'm asking. Just come and hang out with me. That's it. That's all I want. All I want for my birthday is... Isn't there a song about front teeth or something? I don't want front teeth. Well, I do want front teeth. I'm good. I have what I need in that department. I'll keep what I have. I don't need 2 front teeth. I just need you guys to come chill with me. That's it. Anyway, thanks for the birthday wishes, guys. Everybody, I appreciate that. Oh, it's a Christmas song. Oh, okay, not a birthday song. My mistake. All I want for Christmas is my 2 front teeth, not birthday. My mistake. I messed it up. Well, I'm good with the front teeth that I have. They're actually not terrible, so pretty good chompers, if I do say so myself. All right, let's keep listening to Vivek here.
We are starved for purpose and meaning and identity.
So what he's saying here right now, isn't this like, I should look this up to be super sure, but I believe that this is right out of a fascist playbook. Isn't this whole starve for meaning and identity and purpose thing directly out of Mussolini's speeches or something like that? I think this is like nearly an exact quote, accounting for translations. And of course, Mussolini is the guy that invented the fascist party and fascism in general as an ideology, if you were unfamiliar. Dude, I think Vivek is just doing the fascism right now. I think that's what's happening for real. This dude basically just took Mussolini speeches and kind of decided to co-opt them and like make them more appropriate for an English-speaking audience. It seems like that's what he did. Is it just me?
At a time in our national history when the things that used to fill that void have disappeared. And yes, I believe that a belief in God is one of those things. And as the old saying goes, if you have a hole the size of God in your heart and God does not fill it, something else will instead.
Yeah, that's how I met your mom. So there's that. But aside from all of that, that is absolutely absurd. This is Christian nationalist extremism right here. That's fascinating, actually. A Hindu has decided to jump straight into Christian nationalism. This dude is very obviously selling out his own values and ideals and beliefs so that he can, I don't know, what would you call it? So that he can, like, get people to vote for him, just so he can sell some more books or whatever it is that he's aiming for right now. This is shameless, dude.
And so in many ways, precisely because I'm young, and yes, even in...
I'm sorry, wait. Ken Barbie, I missed it. I missed the message earlier. Sorry, 12 minutes ago. Extreme right Hindus and Muslims in India are fascist AF ATM. Didn't know that. Yeah, I think somebody else mentioned that, or maybe it was you that mentioned it in the chat. I didn't know this, but I guess Hindu nationalism is really, really bad in India. Crazy.
In your heart, and God does not fill it, something else will instead.
That's what your mom said.
And so in many ways,
I'm sorry, I could not resist the your mom joke. I couldn't. I tried. I've listened to that part a total of twice now, and I could step back 5 seconds, what I'd normally do, so that we get the context, but I'm not going to because I'll be tempted to do a third your mom joke.
Precisely because I'm young. And yes, even in this current environment, because I'm not a traditional Christian, but I stand for religious liberty. I stand unapologetically for life.
Okay, interesting. I stand for religious liberty, actually. I believe that people should be allowed to practice their religion the way that they want to practice their religion, unimpeded, up to a point. When they start interfering with other people's rights, that's when I have an issue with it. What would you call it? I am a true religious liberties person in the truest sense. I stood up for Jehovah's Witnesses when they were banned in Russia, for example. I do not believe that religions should be banned. Period. So what's the difference between me and this guy right here? Well, this guy is willing to take that extra step and not just be in favor of religious liberties like me, but he'll take the extra step to be an extremist nutcase and enable other extremists, Christian extremists, in government to control things. That's really the difference here. As a Hindu, too. That's fascinating.
I stand unapologetically for the revival of faith as a value in our...
The revival of faith. So he's shouting out to a specific Christian denomination here. It's not just Christianity. He's shouting out to evangelicalism. That's even more interesting.
Our country. In many ways, I'm at liberty to do it even more freely without anybody accusing me of being a Christian nationalist as I do.
Well, you can still be a Christian nationalist and not Christian simultaneously, just like you can be a white supremacist while you're black. And if you doubt me on that, let me just show you the clip I got here. Just listen to Jesse Lee Peterson here tell us about white supremacy. You think you can't be a white supremacist and black? Listen to this.
I used to think that when they used that word, white supremacy, it was a negative word. But now I realize what they're thinking is that, and it's true, by the way, that white men are smarter than them, superior to them.
So Jesse Lee Peterson says, I used to think that white supremacy was a negative thing, but it's true that white people are smarter and superior, smarter than and superior to black people. That's what he's saying. White people are superior to black people. That is a fact. That's what Jesse Lee Peterson said. A black dude, okay?
And instead of learning, oh, hey, how did you become so superior? They want to destroy it so that they won't be reminded how dumb they are. And so they're dumbing everybody and everything down rather than coming up to the level of white supremacy.
So don't tell me that you can't be black and a white supremacist. Don't tell me you can't be Hindu and a Christian nationalist. You can. And I see it all the time. The extremist movements that we're talking about, the ones that we're dealing with, any extremist movement, honestly. Hell, even cults, like literally any group out there that is extreme and damaging to society or hateful toward one group of people will find a member of that group that they hate to speak out about how bad that group is. It's called tokenism, kind of. I mean, I think tokenism is a little bit different, but, you know, that's the idea. They find somebody that will repeat the talking points so that they can't be considered racist. It's a method of deflecting accusations of hatred or bigotry or whatever. And that's exactly what Vivek Ramaswamy is doing right now. He's deflecting his, Christian nationalism by claiming, hey, I'm a Muslim, or I'm sorry, not a Muslim. Hey, I'm Hindu. I can't be a Christian nationalist. Oh, no, you can and are. Wouldn't be surprised if Vivek starts speaking in tongues. Doesn't sound like a Hindu at all. I think he's secretly a Christian convert who just uses the label of Hindu to pander to Indian Hindu voters to get them to join the alt-right. That could be. No way to know for sure. I guess until we're in the dude's head. But Vivek Ramaswamy is most definitely a Christian nationalist one way or another,
Even more freely without anybody accusing me of being a Christian nationalist as I do. And I think that's a
No, you're a Christian nationalist. I can still call you that.
big part of why I've actually had more success in being unshackled, in living our lives according to those same Christian values, even though you're right. It's true. I wasn't raised in a Christian household. That is an accurate fact.
So let's talk about, I think a lot of people, now I saw you at CNP back at the beginning of the year, and
No, I'm not sure what CNP is. Is that some conservative something or some kind of a national party something or other? I'm not sure.
I think a lot of people need to understand, give us a little history of your American roots, your heritage, your parents.
Please give us a little insight into that. He was born in the United States because you're not allowed to run for president, or you're not allowed to be president if you were not born in the United States. Interestingly, Ted Cruz was not born in the United States at all. When I say that, I don't mean he was on a territory. Technically not, but John McCain was born in Panama, but he was on an American base because his parents were in the military. No, Ted Cruz just Canadian. Straight up Canadian. And the Constitution very explicitly says you're not allowed to run for president or be president or whatever if you were not born in the United States. So Vivek Ramaswamy must have been born here, I assume. He seems to have a flawless American accent, so I figure he probably grew up in this culture anyway.
I'll let people know how you got to this place of running for president.
So in many ways, I am the embodiment of the American dream, and I am grateful for that because that wouldn't have been possible without the existence of this country. My parents came here a little over 40 years ago with literally...
And he's 36. So his parents came here 4 years before he was born, I guess.
No money, almost no money. In a single generation, I've gone on to found multi-billion-dollar companies. A biotech company that developed 5 medicines, including one that's a life-saving therapy in kids that are now FDA approved.
Are they vaccines? Oh, please tell me he has stock in vaccines. That would be so fascinating. I mean, just more hypocrisy on top of hypocrisy. That's what I'd be interested in seeing. But anyways, yeah, the dude's worth $630 million, I think is what it was. I looked it up just now. That's a rough estimate. Nearly a billionaire. It's a natural-born U.S. citizen. If you're born to citizen parents outside the country, you are still a citizen. Is that true? Okay, I'm not informed enough on it to know for sure to have the information. So, someone add a little context to that. Look it up and let me know. Anyway, thank you for the information there. Oh my God, somebody just says, wrong. Someone in the chat, wrong. Didn't add any context, didn't tell me what I was wrong about, didn't say, hey, I think that you're wrong and this is why, give me more. No, it's just wrong. Thank you. Thank you, Palmetto Fox, for telling me. Wrong. That's really nice of you to just say it like that. Wrong. Anyways, I don't I don't even know if that's true or not. Somebody look that up. Anyway, all right, let's keep listening.
It's a multi-billion-dollar business. I also founded Strive Asset Management, the lead anti-ESG competitor to firms like BlackRock and State Street and Vanguard that are...
Okay, all of these companies that he's listing right now are terrible. Oh my God, dude. BlackRock is an absolutely horrific company. Just bad in every way. like they're out to, I don't know. BlackRock has famously taken advantage of a lot of people and done a lot of really terrible stuff. So if he's saying that he runs companies that are like competitors to BlackRock, like I probably keep that under the hat. Like don't actually like come out and say that. Maybe just be kind of vague about what you invented next time.
Weaponizing people's retirement accounts to push one-sided political and social agendas. And I did all of this while marrying my wife, Apurva, raising our 2 sons who we brought into this world, one of whom...
Now he's trying to signal. This is all virtue signaling, by the way. I'm not opposed to virtue signaling. I think that signaling that you have these virtues is fine. It's just when you don't really hold these virtues that virtue signaling is crooked and messed up and ridiculous and disgusting. That's when I have a problem with virtue signaling, when it's fake. So I signal virtues all the time. I hold the virtue that it is wrong to hurt other people. Right? It's wrong to go to war. I hold the virtue. Here's a virtue that I signal a lot. I think it's virtuous to expand human rights and improve people's living conditions and not hate anybody for anything. I mean, those are virtues that I hold, right? That's me virtue signaling. I'm signaling that. But virtue signaling becomes a bad thing when it's completely made up. Like, you don't even stand for that stuff. Now, I'm not in the dude's head. I don't know what he's thinking or how he feels about stuff or whatever, but I've already heard him just flat out, like, lie about some things. And brazenly embrace Christian nationalism. So, I'm skeptical about every word out of this dude's mouth right now. I'm sorry.
Whom is 3, one of whom is a year old, and following our faith and following our conviction in this country. That is the American dream. It's not just about green pieces of paper. It's about conviction in our purpose as citizens. And I'm genuinely worried. What brought me into this race is my genuine worry that my kids and their generation will not be able to live that same American dream that I did, that my wife Apurva did, because they're now taught to think of themselves as victims. They're now taught to think of themselves as oppressed based on...
Okay, so nobody is taught to think of themselves as victims or oppressed or whatever, but as scientists, as people who are interested in statistics and improving the material conditions of the people in the world, improving the material conditions of the people around them, we should be able to recognize when, certain groups are victimized, are taken advantage of, are treated worse than others. Yes, of course we should be able to acknowledge that. As an individual, you have to overcome. You have to find your way out of it, one way, for better or worse, right? But there is, it's, in my opinion, it's morally wrong to not acknowledge the fact that certain minority groups are objectively treated worse in the U.S. than other minority groups, right? I mean, how can you deny that fact? That's like absurd. You're just a joke if you deny systemic racism.
To think of themselves as oppressed based on their skin color or their genetic attributes. And I reject that. I don't...
Okay, well, you're just an idiot then. You're incorrect, good sir. There is systemic oppression of certain races of people, and we know this without a shadow of a doubt. Now, should people let that get them down? No, of course not. I am in a subcategory who is not systemically oppressed generally, but I've had my problems in life. My parents were broke as dog shit, okay, when I was little. I didn't have a penny to my fucking name when I was little, when I was a kid. And all the way up to, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. Hell, I didn't start to be able to even rent my own home until just a few years ago, like 5, 6, 7 years ago, somewhere in that vicinity, and it was because of YouTube largely. So, I haven't had it easy. And not as a result of systemic oppression necessarily, just because, that's how it was for me. My parents were not rich, and they were just terrible people, But, so here's the point. Rejecting the idea that systemic oppression exists is just foolish. You have to understand this stuff is part of society. You're an idiot if you reject that stuff. I'm sorry. But don't let it get you down. Keep fighting, keep struggling, keep battling. Do whatever it takes. Do what you need to do to overcome, to fight against it. That's the way that I see it. For better or worse, there are forces out there that will try to keep you down no matter who you are, because the next guy in line wants to take your spot. But you have to fight, you have to battle, you have to keep on going no matter what.
I don't think we've gotten past the point of no return yet, but I think we're getting close. I don't think we have 20 years to work with. I don't think we have the time to wait between my son who's entering preschool will graduate from 12th grade. If we wait that long, I don't think we have a country left. And
we don't have a country left? Okay, so what does he think is going to happen then? I mean, he's talking about wokeism and stuff. What's going to happen? Exactly. What is his worst fear with quote-unquote wokeism?
That's what gives me the sense of urgency to do this now, instead of waiting for saying that I'm going to do this at the traditionally older age when people run for president. And part of the vacuum that I see is that our movement, we as conservatives for a long time, we have been running from something. I think now is our moment.
Well, is he saying that the conservative movement has been heavily focused on fear campaigns? Wow, I can't believe I made it out of that. That stuff's supposed to suck you in and not let you out. That's crazy. Is he saying that it's all based on fear campaigns up to now? It has been? Yeah, absolutely. It's a reactionary movement, 100%. The conservative movement in the United States right now, reactionary. It really has no value to it. They don't stand for anything. So what's he saying is the solution to that? He's saying that they should stand for something, give up on the reactionary garbage? That'd be great. Look, I don't agree with your tax policy as a conservative, but at least you're talking about policy. Is that what he's going to talk about? Is that what we're going to get into, is tax policy, real substantive stuff? Or
we have been running from something. I think now is our moment to actually start running to something, to our vision of what it means to be an American, reviving those ideals.
Or alternatively, we could possibly run to your mom. That's an option too. Just throwing it out there. That's what I've been doing this whole time. I don't know if it worked for me. I don't know if it worked for you or what, but yeah. Vivek's mom specifically. Now, what he's saying here is we should be throwing ourselves into nationalism, into extremism. That's basically what he's saying. So I was hoping he's going to offer some policy, but no, I guess not. He's telling us that we should throw ourselves into not patriotism, but nationalism, extremism, basically. Great.
That set this nation into motion, revive the truth itself. And I think that's part of what this campaign is about, speaking the truths, the hard truths that other people are afraid to say out loud. The fact that God is real, that there are two genders, that unborn life is life, that parents determine the education of their children, that the nuclear family is the best known form of governance to mankind.
The nuclear family. Everything that he just said is psychotic as it gets and completely disconnected from any kind of reality. It's just culture war nonsense. When he said we need to stop running from things and start standing for things, I thought he's going to give up on the fear tactics the Republican Party uses and start running with real substantive policy. No, he's jumping face first into the fear tactics.
I had the ultimate privilege. People use that word a lot these days, privilege. I actually accept the accusation of saying that I had privilege. I wasn't born into money, but I had the ultimate privilege of having two parents, a mother and father in the house, who had a focus on education and instilled in us a faith in God. That is the ultimate privilege. And I want to make sure not just my two sons, but every kid in this country has a chance to enjoy that same privilege too.
Of being indoctrinated into Christianity, is what he's saying here, right? Every kid needs to be indoctrinated into Christianity. I mean, this is obviously just shouting out. This is giving a gift to Christian nationalists. But my God, dude, this is just as psychotic as it gets, right? I covered what Vivek Ramaswamy was saying yesterday. As you can see, I'm wearing a different shirt. But yeah, we're jumping back in because it was right at the end of the interview. I had to get off of here because I was, I had a doctor's appointment, basically. I had to hit pretty quickly. So we jumped off really suddenly. But yeah, let's continue on with him. I already actually answered this.
Revive the truth itself. And I think that's part of what this campaign is about. Speaking the truths, the hard truths that other people are afraid to say out loud.
Okay, so he says it's time to start running toward something rather than away from something. The point being, it's time to stop being reactionary, running away from things, being afraid, talking about the things that other people are doing that are bad, and start running toward an actual interest, a policy position that we want to pursue. That's the idea that he's presenting, until you realize it's not. Until you realize that actually what this dude is saying right now is he wants to increase patriotism and extremism and Christian nationalism in the country. That's really the goal here. So he is kind of increasing, oh God, what's the word I'm looking for? Not culture war issues, reactionary thought. That's what I was looking for. He is kind of increasing reactionary thought. He's just also increasing extremism. That's not going to benefit the party. And if you noticed, I don't know if anybody else noticed this, but he's still this whole time been talking about the negative things about, all the reactionary culture war nonsense. This entire time he's been talking about how the Democratic Party is, ruining everything with wokeism and blah, 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 all that other garbage. He's been saying that this whole time, through this entire interview. So he doesn't want to stop reactionaryism. He doesn't want to stop extremism in the party. He doesn't want to stop running away from things. He likes the fear and he sees it as useful, seems to me, right? What he's saying really is he wants to ramp up extremism in addition to being reactionary. That's how I'm reading it. Tell me if I'm wrong.
The fact that God is real, that there are two genders, that unborn life is life, that parents determine the education of their children.
Okay, this is all psychotic nonsense that the Democrats are not fighting against to any degree at all. This is all just him virtue signaling, for lack of a better term, about how the other side is evil and these virtues are the ones that he likes the best and the other side hates them. That's how it is. That's what he's doing right now. It's transparent to anybody watching on the outside. Like, it is. The sad thing is that people really are buying this. The people watching this interview are buying what he's selling. And of course, he's basically parroting everything that Trump says. It's nothing particularly new. I mean, it's just all culture war nonsense. Again. Just repeated garbage over and over and over again.
That the nuclear family is the best known form of governance to mankind.
Nuclear family is the best form of known governance. It's really interesting that he says that because family is not a form of governance, really, right? But if you had to categorize it as such, it would be a dictatorship because there's somebody at the head that makes all the decisions, or, in best case scenarios, two people at the head that make all the decisions, that call all the shots, that tell the people what they're supposed to do, and the answer, if you refuse or you ask why, the answer is because. In this guy's world, that's really what he's saying right now. The nuclear family is the best form of governance. What he means is dictatorship is the best form of governance. That's what he's saying.
But I had the ultimate privilege of having two parents, a mother and father in the house, who had a focus on education. And
okay, so right here, he's dog whistling. He's kind of hinting at the fact that a lot of black families are separated. Parents are jailed disproportionately for a number of reasons, obviously. They're mistreated by cops. They're harassed. I mean, there are a lot of fatherless homes. Now, Republicans like to use this as a dog whistle. They like to point this out and say, oh my God, it's because black people are worse than white people. Now, there are two possible explanations for why black homes are less likely to have fathers in them. Two possible explanations, okay? Explanation number one, it's environmental. There's something that created this environment that can be corrected, that we can fix systemically by making systemic changes. That's possibility number one. Now, possibility number two is it's genetic. They're just genetically inferior. And if you believe that, you're simply a Nazi. You just believe the same things that Nazis believed. And that's okay. Just admit it, Just admit it. And I will be glad to not deal with you anymore and not take any of your arguments seriously ever again. So what he's doing is dog whistling to the far right when he says this. Nuclear families are important. Yes, absolutely. You have a higher chance of succeeding if you're in a nuclear family. But this guy is very obviously calling out to Nazi ideas. I mean, it's maybe not overtly Nazi, but when you think about it for like 3 seconds, you realize that those two reasons, it's one of two reasons that there's a difference there, right? The difference that he's pointing out. Either it's genetic or it's environmental. He's kind of implying that it's genetic here, even though he's not saying it. And even if I said that to his face, he would deny it. He would say, no, I'm not saying it's genetic. If it were environmental, he wouldn't be, dog whistling to it like this. If he realized and accepted that it was an environmental problem, that black people have been systemically oppressed in the United States since day one, if he accepted that, then he wouldn't be talking about fatherless homes. He'd be talking about ways to solve the problem, ways to help the black community, rise them out of poverty, and improve their living conditions materially. Reparations, maybe. Reparations through free college education. He would be talking about affirmative action. I mean, these are all things, these are all solutions, possible solutions that have been proposed to the fact that the black community is disproportionately affected, disproportionately mistreated in the United States. Now, Vivek Ramaswamy and other Republicans are going to insist that the black community is inferior to the white community because they have more issues than the white community. One of two reasons for that. Either you're for affirmative action or you believe this is a problem that they need to solve because they're genetically inferior or something. Which is it? Anyways, yeah, like I said, this is just like real light dog whistling to full-blown Nazis and members of the KKK. And it's an argument that kind of resonates with moderates a little bit. It resonates with right-leaning moderates. Probably more accurate. It pulls right-leaning moderates over just a little bit more to the right, So, anyways, that's why this is happening. That's why he's saying what he's saying. I just want to really break the propaganda down and point out what's happening. I don't want him to get away with what he's doing. He knows exactly what he's doing. When you focus in on fatherless homes, you're placing the blame on the individual people rather than where the blame belongs, which is on the system. If you believe it's on the individual people, that it's their fault, and that they need to get their shit together, what you're really saying is they're genetically inferior. If you accepted that it was an environmental problem, you would accept that it could be solved by things that we do, things that the government could do to try to alleviate the problems. Did you see my link? No, I did not see the link. What is this link? The Daily Beast. Florida schools will teach how slavery brought personal benefit to black people. What? Oh my God, dude. Is that real? That's crazy, dude. That is real. So I got this link from Catalina Gearbox. Florida schools will teach how slavery brought personal benefit to black people. This is on the Daily Beast. So this isn't just excluding CRT. This isn't just teaching the facts or just leaving it out entirely the way that it seems like Ron DeSantis is trying to do. This is full-blown KKK activism. These are goals the KKK has had since they were founded, honestly. Out of curiosity, I'm wondering, when was the KKK founded? 1865? Really? I'm surprised. That's just immediately after the Civil War? I would have thought the KKK would have existed before the Civil War, but okay. I guess there's no need back then because they could do whatever they wanted. That's just crazy. Middle school students in Florida will soon be taught that slavery gave black people a personal benefit because they developed skills. After the Florida Board of Education approved new standards for African American history on Wednesday, high school students will be taught an equally distorted message: that a deadly white mob attack against black residents of Ocoee, Florida, in 1920 included acts of violence perpetrated against and by African Americans. And so I guess this is kind of like the Tulsa attack. I don't know if you've heard of the Tulsa, Oklahoma thing. Wow, that's just whacked out, dude. I mean, this should just show you where we are, right? It shows you that when we're talking about Vivek Ramaswamy and the things that he is espousing, he's not talking about how to solve problems in the black community. He's not talking about how to materially make the black community better, right? He's dog whistling to KKK and full-blown Nazi talking points. I mean, is that obvious to anybody else? I feel that's obvious. I don't want him to get away with this kind of dog whistling unchecked. I want people to see it for what it is. I want people to be able to identify it at the very least, right? So anyways, Vivek Ramaswamy and Ron DeSantis seem to me to both be in favor of, KKK talking points, KKK goals and interests, right? It's simply disgusting, man. Let me start from the beginning here. If you didn't hear about what happened in Tulsa, Oklahoma, there was this, an area called Black Wall Street, and it was the center of a lot of the black wealth in the country, honestly, because they were building their own wealth centers. So this is in 1920. This is during segregation. They were not allowed to be, a part of normal or the rest of society. They're not allowed to be a part of the white society, white neighborhoods. They were segregated and cordoned off into their own areas. And the black community created their own economic centers as a result. And that pissed the white people off so much in Tulsa, Oklahoma, that they went in and burned the whole place to the fucking ground. Seriously. At the time, in the 1920s, you have any idea how much, what is it, $34 million, I think, is what was burned down and destroyed? Do you have any idea how much $34 million was in the 1920s? A lot. It was a lot. And that was what was destroyed, or in that vicinity, by the Tulsa attacks. White people charge into a black neighborhood in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and burn it to the ground entirely. Because they didn't like that it was a wealth center. Because they didn't like that they had money. They're not allowed to have money. They're black. They're supposed to be poor. And presumably, according to that article, what they're talking about, Ron DeSantis, and what they're going to teach in schools, presumably, you know, the exact same thing happened in Florida, in Ocio, Florida, whatever it was. Basically, what it seemed to me was very, very similar to the Tulsa, Oklahoma attack. If that's the case, and Ron DeSantis decided to teach kids that attack included black people, kind of shifting the blame from white to black, I mean, it's blatantly clear what he's doing, right? I mean, I don't see how anybody could deny it now. Like, Ron DeSantis is effectively a member of the KKK. It's a normalized part of the party platform now, of the Republican Party platform, KKK talking points. And not only that, we have an Indian guy here, Vivek Ramaswamy, also repeating KKK talking points that have been around since the beginning. Since 1865, when it was founded, or earlier. Now, that stuff about Ron DeSantis teaching that black people benefited from slavery, they got useful skills, like, if you're unfamiliar with the history in the United States, if you're from, like, I don't know, if you're from the UK and you just, like, don't really know the history of slavery here, you may not know how absolutely grotesque and disgusting that really is. You know where else, the black community, do you know where else the black community would have gotten useful skills? In the regular labor market, if they were being paid. They didn't have to be slaves. They didn't have to be forced to work for nothing to gain useful skills. They could have been paid for their work, for their labor. What is wrong with the Republican Party today, honestly? What's going through their heads? It's been co-opted by the KKK. That's really what's going on. When you study the history of it and just listen to some KKK people talk about it. In 1982, there's a grand wizard who did a CNN interview, and I covered it on my main channel. Just look it up. KKK grand wizard talks about blah, blah, blah. It's something like that is the title. Here, right here. This is the interview. It's about 10 minutes long. Oh, I'm sorry. This is actually the shortened version where he talks about how evil affirmative action is.
We feel that affirmative action is discriminating against white people.
By the way, this talking point right here, what this grand wizard in the KKK wearing the Klan hood is saying is the exact argument that Clarence Thomas on the Supreme Court used to erase affirmative action just, what was it, like a couple of weeks ago, a month ago, 2023. Clarence Thomas used that argument from this guy in a Klan hood, really.
And there is no question about it. Two wrongs don't make a right. Because black people were hurt and discriminated against in the past does not justify the discrimination against white people now.
Absolutely agreed. That's not what affirmative action is. That's not what it ever was. But the KKK twisted it around to be something different. And just as we see back then, we can see it now with Ron DeSantis. He is effectively a KKK member, if not in name, in spirit. And so is Vivek Ramaswamy. You know, earlier, Ramaswamy said, nobody can accuse me of being a Christian nationalist because I'm Hindu. And then he spouted off a bunch of Christian nationalist garbage, right? Because you are, that's him actually using skin color or race to make determinations. That's what he's doing. Or religious belief to make determinations. Well, I'm not Christian, so I can't be a Christian nationalist. No, you can, and you are. Anyway, like I was saying, Vivek Ramaswamy is repeating all these same exact talking points, just like Ron DeSantis. For the record, there was a little bit in there on the Daily Beast where they said that they gained useful skills. Like I said, these are useful skills they would have gained if they were being paid for their labor. And the fact that they weren't paid for their labor is a shame on society. And you know what's an even bigger shame on society? The fact that they were never reimbursed for that. The fact that they never received reparations or any kind of payment. You know that they were promised a payment for their work, right? The slaves? They were promised 40 acres and a mule, and they never got it. They never got that payment. Isn't that interesting? Famously, there were a lot of watermelon farms in the South, and there were a lot of slaves that worked these watermelon farms. And when they were freed, what do you think they did? They went out and they farmed watermelon of their own. And because, that's how they knew how to make money. It was a symbol of black freedom that they had watermelons to sell. It was a symbol that they were not being treated as equals, but at least being allowed to make money instead of being literally enslaved. It was a symbol of freedom that they were eating watermelon and that they were like selling it and growing it and everything. And what did the KKK do all the way back then? They turned it into a way to denigrate them. I'm not going to show it because it's so deeply racist, but they used to make I don't know what you'd call it. They are kind of like lawn gnomes. I'm sure you guys have seen lawn gnomes, but they're like blackface characters that are eating watermelon and stuff. This thing that the black community used as a symbol of their freedom was turned into an insult. And I guess that's what, that's kind of the root of what Ron DeSantis wants to teach children in Florida schools. That African Americans learned skills from their time as slaves. Does it get more disgusting than that, honestly? I'm hard pressed to imagine a more disgusting situation. Let's keep listening to Ramaswamy here.
But I had the ultimate privilege of having two parents, a mother and father in the house.
Again, it seems like nothing. He's correct here. That pulls moderates over because he's correct. It is better for homes to have two parents. I mean, kids succeed more often when they do. But it's very obviously just shouting out, screaming out to the KKK.
Who had a focus on education and instilled in us a faith in God. That is the ultimate privilege. And I want to make sure not just my two sons, but every kid in this country has a chance to enjoy that same privilege too. That's why I'm running. That's why I think it's going to take a person of a different generation to do it, to actually reach that next generation of Americans.
Did you catch that? What was it he was saying? Let's step back.
Different generation.
Hold on.
That's why I'm running. That's why I think it's going to take a person of a different generation to...
Personally, I prefer people of different generations. That's just me, though. I don't know. Let me know in the comments what you think about it.
To actually reach that next generation of Americans, to make values like faith and family and hard work and patriotism cool again in this country. These aren't antiquated values that we're running back to.
Okay, nobody thinks that they're antiquated, that patriotism is antiquated. I'm a patriot. I consider myself a patriot, truly. I love this country, and more specifically, I love this city that I live in, Manhattan, and I would fight for it, maybe even die for it. That's how much I love it. These people are not patriots, they're f***ing psychotic. Actually, in reality, they're not patriots, they're nationalists. There's a difference between the two. In one, you love your country. You want your country to succeed. That would be patriotism. With the other, nationalism, you want your country to succeed at the expense of other countries, and you want to force other people around you to feel the same way that you do, and if they don't, then they should pay, basically. Nationalism is like patriotism gone way, way too far into La La Land, basically. That's what we're seeing. I mean, they aren't patriots. You're looking for a patriot, look no further. They're extremists. They're nationalists. That's what really differentiates them. So patriotism isn't an antiquated belief or an antiquated whatever you want to call it. Patriotism is still observed and respected in the United States by basically everybody here, honestly. You know, who wouldn't fight for their hometown if somebody came and tried to invade it. Truthfully, like, everybody would. Patriotism is not, like, shunned or hated. Nationalism is. Unfortunately, these people have co-opted the term patriotism and conflated it with nationalism. Anyways, so what's he running toward? He says patriotism. Actually, it's nationalism. It's extremism.